out like where their data is coming from, where their, kind of their philosophy. And I didn't realize this, but I've been pretty loyal to RedX through most of my career. I subscribed to them in 2004. I didn't realize their whole business didn't start until 2003. So, I mean, when he went through like the timeline of the company, I just found him by accident, and I was probably one of their first 1,000 subscribers. And throughout the time I've been a real estate agent, I mean, I used LandVoice for a little while. They gave me like a 90-day free trial. So I went through that with them. And one thing I found was in my market, the numbers that LandVoice was giving me was actually they were giving me numbers to second homes in the Myrtle Beach area, but it wouldn't be the actual house the people were living at. And it's actually kind of funny. I'm sitting in their conference room, the RedX conference room right now, and I can look across the street, and the LandVoice office is literally across the street from me. But I used LandVoice for a while. I used Vulcan 7 for a while, and kind of what I've learned here, one of the big things is the way that their data and where their data is coming from, and what in all their tests and stuff using RedX versus Vulcan 7 versus LandVoice. I mean, their data conversion, what they call it octane, and it's basically calling a number 3 times and what percentage of those people actually answer the phone. And the RedX just standard service octane blows away the Vulcan 7 premium service as far as the numbers you get on the phone. And I didn't realize this, but Vulcan 7, as you call their list gets smaller as people go through it with their dialer and they get wrong numbers or people just not answering the phone. So the older the expireds are in Vulcan 7, those people that are left, say after 3 or 4 days, are only the people that are picking up the phone. So they are the people that are getting hammered by the agents in your market. So RedX just leaves those numbers in there. And I mean, the people that are tougher to get in touch with are the people that are the best ones. So Matt, you said that you couldn't hear me. Can everybody else hear me? Lisa, can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure their whole internet setup's a little bit different than mine is at home. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, that's cool. But well, guys, what I'll do, this is the 4th week, so we'll just go ahead and get started. I'm doing the last week here in the workshop from the RedX conference room in Utah. They brought me out here basically to talk about their data, their new products. I talked to their sales team yesterday about the needs of real estate agents when it comes to listing more properties. This week, being our 4th week, I want to wrap things up, and I want to tie together all the weeks and all the stuff that we've done so far. So I keep being asked about the actual listing presentation. The reason I've saved it for week 4 is because I want to make sure you have all the tools to make sure your appointment's successful. Let's just take just a minute. I want to recap the whole workshop. So now you guys have your lead sources, you have your scripts, you have your follow-up scripts, you have your net sheet. You know how to go through your paperwork so you aren't scaring your clients off. You know how to start building a strong mindset. You have a solid, easy-to-explain pricing strategy. And this last week, what we're going to talk about the listing presentation, building your team and your first hire, and then how to figure out what area of your market you need to go after, what things are really selling. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about your vision, figuring out what you want out of your business, because this is your business that you guys have, and your vision is a little bit different than your goal. So we'll go ahead and get started. My listing presentation. So my listing presentation is probably different than what a lot of agents' presentation is because, your potential seller clients should know all about you at this point. By the time you get to their front door, between follow-up and confirmation of the appointment, you've probably talked to these sellers anywhere from 3 to 10 times, maybe more. They've already seen your pre-listing package. You've confirmed they've received it. You've sent them a copy of your paperwork. They've received your net sheet also. So now you're getting to their house. You should already have comps pulled, printed out the most relevant ones, looked at all the pictures, made some notes on the active listings that are around theirs. even though this only takes us about 10 or 15 minutes to put together, these people are going to be pretty impressed by the amount of work it appears that you've done. I make it a habit to show up about 10 to 15 minutes early. I'd really like to sit in their driveway for about 5 minutes. I'll look through some paperwork, and if they mention this, you just say, "Hey guys, I just want to make sure I'm really prepared before I go in." The whole process. If you pull up about 15 minutes early, you sit out there about 5 minutes. The process works even better if they step you out and kind of step outside and kind of wave to you to come on in. That even works better because then you have an introduction when you get out and you say, "Hey guys, I was just looking over everything outside before I came in." So I walk up to the door and I knock on the door, ring the doorbell. Then I always take a couple of steps back so they can look through the people and they can actually see who it is. A lot of people, you never want to stand right up next to the door, or I've seen a lot of people, they turn around backwards when they get to the door and you can't really tell who it is. With everything you guys are doing up to this point, you're building trust. You want to be as genuine as possible. I mean, just be a nice person. The more uptight and salesman you are, that's when people's walls start going up. So as soon as the door opens, I say, "Hey, how are you? I'm Jason Morris." I always stick out my hand to shake their hand. I always immediately hand them a couple of business cards. That way they've seen me at the door. I've shook their hand. They're verified I am who I say I am. I'm handing them business cards. After a short introduction, I always make a comment or statement that everybody agrees with. Like, "Oh man, it's hot outside today. The weather's really nice." Just something to build a little bit of rapport. You don't want there to be a lot of silence. Silence creates tension in a lot of cases. Then immediately I confirm they received everything that I emailed over to them, which goes something like this. "Hey, Mr. Seller, hey, you got my email, right? Did you look over it?" 9 out of 10 say yes, they looked over it. Then I say, "Oh, that's great. So you wanted $100,000 for your house, right?" Or whatever their price is. I'm just confirming price. And then as soon as they confirm price with me, I say, "Oh, okay, well, no problem. So, hey, so who wants to give me the tour?" If the husband and the wife is there, typically the one that takes the lead in giving you the tour, that's the decision maker lots of times. Walking through the house, you want to at least appear to be extremely interested in the details of the home. Point out anything that you might see that's an issue to a potential buyer. Always talk as if they're already agreeing to hire you. Say things like, when we show buyers your home blank. When we take pictures, when we market your home blank. Everything you talk about while you're walking through the house needs to be as if you're already working with them. If they mention painting or putting down floors themselves, I always comment on it. I always tell them it looks good, unless it looks really bad. Some people think they're really handy, but they're really not. But if they put down the floors and they look really good, that's a feature that's really important to them. You want to remember that. After you've been on about 10 or 15 of these appointments, you're going to get very comfortable being in people's homes. You want to start developing questions or stories that you can tell at every single appointment. Personal stories is what I like to do the best. You want to start asking the same home condition questions at every appointment. Confirm a lot of the information they've already given you. Things like, "Hey, you said the roof was 5 years old. You said you just painted. You said you just put down new carpet. It looks really good." Whatever they told you on the phone call, go through those same things and just confirm it with them. You're building rapport and you're trying to build trust. And, you especially want to bring back up any motivating factors. If they told you that they're moving for a job, ask them about what they told you. Like, we actually made calls from the Red X conference room today. I had a lady that told me that her daughter was having a baby. She was helping her daughter sell their house. She was on the title to the house too. And they were selling the house because they're buying a brand new one somewhere else. So she had a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to call her back like Tuesday or Wednesday, actually when I'm back in town and can actually set an appointment with her. One of the things I'm going to talk to her about, or I'm going to remind her when I get her on the phone, and even when I go to the house, "Hey, your daughter's got a house under contract, right? So when does that close? What does that look like? When do they need to have this one sold to?" When you're at the appointment, you want to restate those motivating factors and just remind them, "Hey, you said that you got to move by, September 15th for a job." Once the home tour is finished, my line I always use is, Mr. Seller, I really appreciate you guys showing me your home. I always take these appointments very seriously. I've done a lot of research before I got here. I want to show you what I found out. Can we sit at your kitchen table? So we have plenty of room to spread out this stuff. Me personally, I always try to sit at the kitchen table. I'm comfortable there. Pick a place that you're comfortable sitting at and do the same thing at every single appointment. For me, if I end up sitting on the couch rather than the table, it throws off my whole thing. And I'm not as smooth going through the process and not as smooth going through the listing dialogue. So, Mr. Seller, you received my pre-listing package and you looked through it. So you already know my team markets two different ways. We market to the general public looking for our own buyers, but then we also market to other realtors so they can show your home to their qualified buyers too. The largest pool of qualified buyers right now are working with realtors. Then I immediately go into my pricing strategy after I tell them that. Mr. Seller, I probably price property a little different than most agents. I believe in an active listing pricing strategy rather than a sold strategy. The buyers looking at property today can only see the properties listed on the market today. So that property that sold last week or last month, it isn't available anymore. And chances are slim it's going to come back on the market at a time frame that would be acceptable to them. Even if it does, it's not going to be at the same price. So we are pricing your home to compete with what's on the market today. Then I talk about all the comps and everything that I looked up. Once we go through the comps, immediately I pull out my net sheet. In a perfect presentation, the middle column will have the price they are looking for. I briefly go down through my net sheet. I circle the net in the middle column. Then I ask the question, Mr. Seller, this price was acceptable to you, right? Would you be happy walking away from with this price? As soon as they say yes, now you've established this price already. You established it when you talked to them on the phone. You established it a second time when you were walking through their front door. Now when you're sitting there at their table, you just went through the comps and you've went through the net sheet and you've showed them how they're going to net their price. So the typical answer is they're going to say yes. So then I say, okay, no problem. Then I go through, I brought all the paperwork with me. I'd like to go down through it with you real quick. I go through my listing paperwork script. Remember, the explanation that you're wanting to give is like going to be on a third grade level. So all of my paperwork is filled out as we go through it. I confirm the price. I fill out the price blank in the listing agreement there in front of them. I go through all the disclosures and I help them fill them out. The commission thing, you guys that are having a lot of problems with commission stuff, show up with your paperwork filled out. It's going to make the commission discussion a lot quicker. You just go down through it. You never bring attention to the commission. It's already been addressed in your net sheet. So you've already overcome that objection before you get there. Once I finish, I hand them my ink pen and tell them all you have to do is initial everywhere that's highlighted and sign the back page. My whole listing presentation and appointment typically takes about 30 to 40 minutes total. When I've showed up, they already have all of my information. They already know what to expect. They know what I'm showing. They know that I'm showing up to do business. Your listing presentation or listing appointment needs to be as easy and painless as possible. The simpler this is, the better. Everybody's in a hurry nowadays. Nobody wants to sit through a 2-hour painful presentation that's nothing but information overload. You are doing a presentation like that. If you're doing that and you're getting to the end and you're finding out they're not listening to you, it's because they're assuming that everything you do is going to be long and drawn out, and they never want to sit through 2 hours of that sort of stuff again. So my listing presentation, the simpler you can make it, the better, and the more information they have when you're showing up, the better and the easier it's going to be. They already know when I'm walking through their front door, I'm showing up to do business. And then everything that I've done up to that point, everything that I do in the listing presentation supports everything I've done up to that point. So you have to go through this whole process with this system. If you skip a step, then you're going to have problems when you get to the listing appointment. So let's talk about building your team, because here pretty soon you guys are going to a lot of listing presentations. You're going to be getting a lot of listings. Your time is more valuable than ever. So when I talk about my team, I'm not talking about the team that a lot of agents refer to nowadays. For me personally, I want a productive team that's highly profitable, and I want low overhead. None of us got in this business so we could struggle to hire 3 employees. We got in this business to make money, and you need to lead with revenue. don't make an hourly or salaried hire until you have the revenue to pay them. The team that you really want to hire initially is the vendors that actually close your property. You want to find a good attorney or title company that will help you go through the closing process. You want them to make sure the items in the contract and deadlines are being met. Set up the dates in your Google Calendar. Don't stress over it. If there's going to be a problem, there will be one, even if you're holding everybody's hands. Believe me, if there's a problem, everybody's going to let you know. These vendors that you're hiring, they're getting paid by your sellers to close the property. If you have to babysit them, then they're not doing their job. You'll probably want to use some sort of closing software or management system. Chances are a lot of your brokerages are providing you with one. eXp uses SkySlope. Other franchises have other programs. This is your contract to close management process. If your attorney and title work isn't assisting you with your closing process, you need to find a new one that will provide you and your clients the service that you need and the service that you deserve. Demand this from them. Some attorneys don't realize, we are recommending them to our clients. We can take our clients anywhere that we choose to, and we can choose to work with whoever we want to. Never recommend people or companies that you're going to have to babysit. Then all you got to do after that, once you recommend good vendors, you just let everybody do their job. I get asked often, how can I close so many properties by myself? And it's easy. I have good vendors. I have good attorneys. Then I just let everybody do their job. Make sure that you have an inspector that has an MLS key if you need one. If you got to go let the inspector in the house, you don't want to hire that inspector. Every vendor that you hire will need to follow the process that you're setting forth. Even if they're going to charge you or your client a little bit more, the more they will do for you, the less you have to babysit, and the less you have to babysit the process, the better. Follow up with email to everybody and use text. Something I've learned with the technology we have today, lots of times there's no need for a 15 to 30 minute phone call about something you probably aren't the person that can fix anyway. Or a 15-minute call that turns into 3 or 4 calls that you just need a yes or no answer to a question. The typical problems I find, they're title issues, inspection issue, or an appraisal issue. And, this all can be dealt with you guys by forwarding an email to somebody. I always ask everybody, when they call me and they start telling me about a problem, I always ask them, hey, can you please send me this in an email so I make sure everybody is relayed properly and I'm relaying information that you're giving me properly? Everybody should get in the habit of this. Most issues nowadays can be taken care of with an email or text, and there's no need to rehash the story to 5 people. Just get the person to send it to you through an email, and you hit forward and you copy everybody on it that needs to be copied. You can streamline your entire closing process doing these sort of things, hiring good vendors and setting up good systems for yourself without hiring a contract to close person. Think about it this way. If you're paying that contract to close person hourly or a flat fee per closing, they are still going to expect you to handle problems, or they're going to call you with information when needed. And lots of times it takes me longer to assist them with the information they need than just to handle the problem itself or just to forward it. Technology has eliminated the need for a lot of the contract to closing jobs that were needed like 10 years ago. Your first actual hire, I believe, should not be your assistant or admin or closing coordinator. I know that a lot of agents, they talk to me about the Millionaire Real Estate book, and it says that your first hire should be a closing coordinator, administrative person. But, leading with debt is a trap. Your first hire needs to be a buyer's agent. You need to get rid of your buyer leads as quickly as possible. You do not need to provide a closing coordinator or services to this agent. You should just have your vendor team set up and require those people to use that vendor team. This is something that really in today's time, it just makes no sense to me. Agents on the 70-30 split are willing to give you a 25% referral to hire a buyer for you, which amounts to them getting about 45% of the net, and they handle all the work. But for some reason, it's become common practice that a lot of times as agents, we feel like when we hire a buyer's agent, we put them on a 50-50 split with us, that we provide all these random services and administrative assistance to them. You need to create a buyer system for your buyer's agents. Make them part of your team. Your buyer system needs to be just like your seller system. They need to work your buyers the way that you want them worked. We use conversion. It ensures that everybody's being followed up with and contacted like I'm expecting them to. Maybe in the future, Lisa, we can do a seminar on developing a buyer system and how to work buyer leads and hire this first buyer's agent. Just let me know if you guys would be interested in that. Once your listing business gets to the point where you have paperwork issues, MLS input issues, this is when you need to hire an assistant. If you're only listing 1 or 2 properties a week, we're talking about these activities, paperwork, MLS input. With my listing system, this extra admin work on 1 to 2 listings a week is only going to take you like 1 or 2 hours a week. You should be taking your signs with you and showing up at the appointment, ready to take pictures. Your listing presentations when you're going to the person's house, guys, this needs to be a 1-step process for you. Do not expect it to be 2 steps or it will become 2 steps for you. Your business, if you follow the system that we have, that I've laid out here for you the last 4 weeks, your business is going to be centered around taking listings. Only hire to support the process of taking listings. Hire buyer's agents to support the buyer leads you're going to get from your signs and your listing internet syndications. If you're at a company that syndicates where leads go through the company rather than down to you, you need to leave that company immediately. The leads on your properties need to go to you. So if somebody calls off a sign, somebody calls off the internet, whatever it is, if your office is taking those calls and giving it to a person on duty, that's taking money away from you. Those leads need to be going to your buyer's agent. That's what's going to create an additional stream of revenue for you, is to have those leads going through your buyer's agent. Your closing process is going to be handled by the attorney or title company that you use. Building your team this way is going to make it highly profitable. Building with staff first is going to take away from your bottom line. You guys need to lead with revenue. By hiring this first buyer's agent, they're going to get all your signed and internet calls. You can use this newly found free time to get more listings. All the money you make from your buyer's agent deals, really at this point, is 100% profit. So think about this. You have to buy signs anyway. Your listings are going to get syndicated and you're going to get listing leads anyway. They're following your automated system and using your vendors. So this buyer's agent, what additional cost is this first buyer's agent going to be to you? Unless you decide to pay for some buyer marketing, what additional cost do you have? I've got a question here. I want to go over it real quick. Please elaborate on hire. Why wouldn't they want to work for themselves? Well, your first buyer's agent that you hire could be just on a referral agreement type situation. But as you get more listings, once you get 20, 25, 30, 40 listings, you're going to get a lot of calls off the signs. You're going to get a lot of calls off the internet. And you really need an agent that your business is their priority. We're talking about your business. We're not talking about your company's business or your office's business. I would hire a buyer's agent that works only for me, and their business is actually my business. The craziest thing I've ever heard of when it comes to building a team was during a training class at one of the largest brokerages in my market. They were teaching the class from one of the most popular team building books, which is the Most Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. They told new agents that they need to hire this assistant first, and if they didn't have the money, they should look at borrowing it or putting this assistant's income on a credit card. I actually had an agent in the office tell me they got an equity line on their home to make this first hire. I believe that this is just the old way of thinking. Now, so many things can be done with technology that is cheap or even free or provided free by your brokerage. If you can eliminate an employee salary or reduce your cost by using an automated piece of software, you guys should do it. In most cases, all of us, we need to think about ourselves like we're running a startup. You need to bootstrap your business to make money. And this is the last time I'm going to really say this, but you need to lead with revenue. Avoid debt. Do not borrow money to hire an employee that you don't really need. hire the profitable team member first, and that's a buyer's agent. The question, no, you're not paying your buyer's agent a salary. You're paying them based on commission. And why wouldn't they want to work for themselves? Lots of times the agent out there that you're going to hire as your buyer's agent, me personally, I'd prefer to hire a brand new agent as my buyer's agent first. Typically they don't have a lot of business. They don't have a lot of experience. They don't have bad habits. And lots of times they don't know where to start or where to get business from. So what you're going to be is you're going to be their saving grace. You're going to hire them. You're going to put them on their team. Typically, you're going to sign a year contract with them. And you're going to be their mentor is what's going to happen. So this person, typically, they might have tried working for themselves on their own, but you're the rainmaker in this sort of situation. Typically this person, they don't have the money to go pay Zillow or pay for marketing or pay for things to generate their own business. So you're actually going to give them business, and you're going to give them enough business from your sign calls and your internet leads that are coming from your syndication that they don't really have to go look for new business. In lots of cases, your sign calls and leads that are coming from syndication, these are pretty high quality leads. I mean, the sign calls are people that are actually driving around looking for business. So if they get one or two of these people a day, after 30, 60 days, they're going to be overwhelmed. But what I want to talk about next is how to figure out what to target in your market. All of us have gotten caught up in wanting to sell $1 million homes. I mean, I've even done this myself. Everybody wants to sell the pretty houses. And the problem is that it might not be what's really selling in your market. You guys, you need to do an in-depth analysis of your market. I shared this story here at REDX today, and one of the ladies here, she's actually a real estate agent, and when I told her how to do this, she was just blown away by how I'm targeting the people I'm calling. You want to be able to actually see the number in front of you as far as actually what's happening in your market. Don't think you need to know that you know what's selling. I get asked all the time, why don't I go after higher end listings? And the reason is, when I done my last market analysis, it told me that about 78% of my market was under $175,000. And, now once I've done this marketing analysis and I started focusing on what was actually selling, I don't really have a lot of listings that expire. What you need to do, you need to open a spreadsheet. Across the top, put price ranges. Like 0 to 50,000, 51,000 to 100,000. Depending on your market, you might want to do it in $100,000 increments, or at least it might be $100,000 or less. It might be $200,000 or less. This depends on what your market is. But you want to break down your market in price increments. Down the side of the spreadsheet, break your market up in areas. For example, in my market, I broke it down into municipalities. So like there was Myrtle Beach. Then outside of Myrtle Beach, there's Conway, there's Aner, there's Loris, there's North Myrtle Beach. Break it down into these little sections and cities. Go through your MLS, searching these areas and price ranges. Once you get it laid out, you might find there's some pockets in your market with little or no competition. One thing I've learned in my area is there's a town called Aner that's probably about 20, 30 minutes outside of Myrtle Beach. Most agents don't want to go there. It's kind of a rural area. But what I learned was 90% of the properties out there under $125,000 were selling. So what I started doing is when an expired or for sale by owner pops up under $125,000, I'm all over them. So you want to take these areas you have, and you want to take these price ranges, and you want to look up the properties that sold in the last 12 months. So, for example, in Aner, I'd want to look up and see what sold under $50,000 in the last 12 months. What sold between $51,000 and $100,000. What sold between $100,000 and $125,000. Then I want to go back and I want to look and see what actually sold. And then I want to go back in MLS and I want to see how many listings were taken. So let's say, for example, you've got an area that, like Oceanfront was the eye-opening thing for me. I can't remember exactly how many Oceanfront listings there were, but there was something like 1,000 listings that had been taken, but there was only like 250 that had sold. So what that meant to me was only 25% of the listings taken that were Oceanfront sold. $1 million plus in my market, man, it was like less than one property sold a month. And this was a year ago. So, I mean, if you listed $1 million home, there was such a small percentage chance that it was going to sell that honestly, you were kind of wasting your time. But there are these little pockets in your market where, say, 75% of the listings are selling, 80% of the listings are selling, sometimes even more, So what you want to do is you want to focus on those pockets. When a for sale by owner comes up, when an expired comes up, man, whoever relists that or whoever lists that for sale by owner, man, they're going to get a paycheck. You want to make sure that that person, you are calling them, you are following up with them like crazy, so like Ainer in my market, man, when I see an expired come up in there, which doesn't happen a whole lot, but when I see a for sale by owner come up, I'm all over them because I know if I list a house out there under $100,000, it's probably going to sell. I'm going to get a paycheck. So I hope that helps you guys with some of the people you're calling. Lots of times, we're calling people and we're calling business that's it's really just not effective. I had an agent telling me about calling, they were using a software that looked up equity in homes and estimated equity in homes. And honestly, just because they have equity in their house, that doesn't mean they're willing to sell it. I mean, if they're an older couple that's lived there 25 or 30 years and they paid it off and they've been living in the house 30 years, chances are they're not going to move. That's probably the house they're going to stay in the rest of their life. The person that bought a house 2 years ago, they barely have enough equity to pay their commission. They're 2 payments behind and they've transferred for a job. Man, those are the people that are motivated. Those are the people that you want to list their house this week. So do this market analysis. Figure out the areas that you want to be in and the areas that are really selling. And you might even want to break it down into niches. Each market has some different niches, but do some research and find out what you should be focusing on. That way, when you take a listing, you know that it's going to sell. So, your vision for your business. I'm going to wrap up this whole workshop, Al, by talking about, your future and establishing your vision. I know we've talked about setting goals, but this is a little bit different. This is figuring out what you really want out of the real estate business and how the real estate business is going to help you with your life goals and dreams. When we first started this workshop, I told you guys I believe that you all have the potential to reach your goals, and I really believe in you. And you guys, every one of you, if you haven't been present, you guys have listened to the recordings and we've talked about them. About a year ago, I had this idea that most of the training in the real estate business was being done by people who never sold real estate, or it was really just kind of fake training that centered around buzzwords and hot topics, but barely produced predictable results. It was training being sold for the purpose of selling training. So I started sharing stuff I was doing that worked in Facebook, and I was sharing this in Facebook's groups. I liked it. I felt like I was helping other people. It's holding me accountable. Eventually I created my own group where most of you guys found me, real estate agents that really work. I started being asked to be on podcasts and other stuff. And I developed this vision that I wanted to go out and impact the lives of as many realtors as I could. I wanted to help them build a cost-effective business and systems to reach their goal. About 4 or 5 months ago, I found eXp Realty, and it gave me the model, the platform, and the technology to be able to do this and to be able to recruit and train agents without charging them. So I'm recruiting agents into eXp across the country just to mentor and train them. I'm getting paid. I'm not getting paid by the agents. I'm not asking them for any money. I'm getting paid based on their performance through eXp's revenue sharing program. Then they can bring agents into the company. They can bring them to training stuff I'm doing in settings just like you guys are in. And the way this system is set up, I can honestly, through the revenue sharing program, I can make more off the agents that you recruit that would be in my second level than the agents I recruit myself. So if anybody's interested that has been in these workshops, if you're interested in working with me, just contact me. I can tell you more about eXp. But I tell you this because I'm not going to stop selling real estate, but a lot of my goals and daily activities are being done here, at least the last couple of months. They're being done to support this long-term vision and this larger purpose I feel like I have. I encourage all of you to think about what you want from the real estate business. Think about it a year from now, 3 years from now, even 5 years from now. Think about how many listings, how many buyers agents, etc. it's going to take you to get to those goals and to get those dreams. What is your dream or vision for your business? What's your dream or vision for your family? What do you want to be able to provide them? What neighborhood do you want to be able to live in? How often do you want to be able to travel? It takes some time to develop and plan out this, but it could be anything. Do you want to pay for your kids or grandkids' college? Did you just have a grandkid that you want to be able to pay for their college in 18 years? Do you want to be able to buy a brand new house or vacation home? Do you want to be able to feed homeless people, But, we should all have a vision, and it's going to help motivate you and keep you going through those days and weeks that, really suck. The weeks that you have every pending closing fall apart, this vision is going to help you pull through that feeling of defeat and pick up the phone again and again the next day and just continue to make calls. I feel like your goals are important, but having goals that support your vision and the things that you want to do for yourself and your family and what you might want to do for other people, that vision is going to help support those goals. And, a lot of people create vision boards. A lot of people, have expensive cars, expensive houses. Your vision can be anything. It can be material. I feel like having that vision is going to help you create your goals and create the business that you want and the business that I believe that every one of you deserve to have. So, we've actually got about 20 minutes here for some questions. I really appreciate you guys being here. What questions do you guys have for me today? Hey, Lisa, do you have any questions? Hey, so oh, did Red X tell you about Onyx? Yeah, actually, I've been using Onyx for about a month, and Onyx is crazy. Onyx is basically Onyx is like Red X basically on steroids. What Onyx does is it ends up getting you a phone number for about 98% of the expired listings, and then they run it through what they call Octane, which Octane is actually where the number of leads that you call 3 times, you actually get people on the phone, and through their test, they've actually had about a 48% octane, between 44 and 48% octane, where they've actually done this same test with in the exact same markets with Vulcan 7. And Vulcan 7, they've gotten between 22 and 24% octane. And actually their regular standard Red X service, they actually get like 24 to 28% octane. So it's actually amazing. Some of the stuff they've told me has been really unbelievable in the tests they have. And the company truly is going out there and working to get the best quality numbers and the best quality data out there. Onyx basically, the easy question is it basically cross-references from more data sources. Cross-references from more data sources, and it basically gives you more numbers. And what you end up with is you're going to end up with more numbers than anybody is actually giving you out there. Now, some of these numbers, they're not going to be, they're going to be bad numbers. They're going to be an old number for somebody, but roughly 44% are going to be good. And you're going to get some of those hard to find numbers and hard to contact people. And those are the ones you want. You want the numbers that nobody else is calling. So Onyx, though, what they've done is you actually have to call Red X. Tell them I sent you, or I told you to call, and they'll give you some special deals. But Onyx, you actually have to apply to. They only want to sell Onyx to agents that are actually out there prospecting. And Lawrence, actually, Red X is coming out with a multi-line dialer some of we actually prospected from the conference room at REDX, and it was really cool. So we got to see the multi-line dialer. We got to try it out. We got to call listings in our number. It actually calls 3 lines. It's in calling through Onyx. You get so many numbers and so much stuff. You get so much data. And so many numbers to call through. The multi-line dialer is actually developed to. It's been developed because the clients have told them they wanted it, number one, but number two, it's developed to support Onyx. Actually the multi-line dialer, they're doing tests right now. I'm not 100% sure that they're actually ready to release it, but I feel like if you call them and you're already doing the storm dialer and you want to try the multi-line dialer, I feel like that they'll give you a trial. It might be a beta version, but I feel like they'll do that. Nobody's in the conference room to ask right now, but I will ask that here in just a little bit, and I'll let you guys know. I'll let you know, Lawrence. I tried Mojo Dialer, and the 3-line dialer with REDX is part of their Vortex platform. And the Vortex platform, it's actually all integrated together, so you don't have to worry about them syncing up. So if you're using REDX data, which, I'll tell you, I think it is the best data out there. And after coming up here and sitting with their product developers, I was in a conference room with like 60 people yesterday, just hammering me with questions and they were letting me ask questions too. And it was almost a little bit overwhelming. I truly believe that REDX has the best data that's available. And their 3-line dialer and storm dialer integrates perfectly. So you're not worried about syncing data, and you're not worried about Mojo making an update that maybe REDX hasn't prepared for yet, or they haven't told REDX about. So if you're using REDX, when this 3-line dialer comes out, you should definitely give it a try, especially if you're using Mojo. But what I've seen with REDX data in the 3-line dialer is it just integrated a little more seamlessly. Farming and dropping a pin. Lisa, they're just doing what they're calling geo leads. They just did their first webinar last week on it, and it's a brand new product. And geo leads, it's actually similar to what Mojo Dialer has, but you actually drop a pin. Say you want to call in one specific community. Let's just call it Marsh Oaks. Just to have a community name. You drop that pin in Marsh Oaks, you pull a radius, and it pulls all the numbers from Marsh Oaks, loads them into your database. You hit the call button, and you actually just call right through those numbers. And if you talk to them about their geo product, talk to them about the 3-line dialer too. Because I believe that they may give you a beta version, but I'm not 100% sure. REDX is actually located in Utah, and as far as data quality, I believe these guys are actually working harder to make their data better. Now, what you end up getting sometimes is with Red-X, you end up getting a few more numbers because they want to give you what they were showing me from some of their interviews with top agents and top prospecting agents is basically a lot of these agents wanted to cast a big net. So they wanted they'd prefer to get more numbers and weed through them and funnel through them. So so they're actually giving you more numbers than anybody out there. So you will get with Onyx, you're going to get more numbers. You're going to get more numbers from more data sources. So not only are you going to get the regular Red-X numbers, you're just going to get more premium data is what it really amounts to. I mean, it's basically like they've this premium data. It just costs more for them to mine these other databases, and that's really what Onyx is about. It's about them mining a larger source of data. So you're going to get numbers. You might get more numbers that are wrong numbers, but you will get a number for 98% of the properties out there. And basically, it's about the equivalent of if we're going out here, doing pay-per-click or Facebook marketing. We might have to generate 100 leads to get 3 buyer leads from that actually works. With Onyx and prospecting and neighborhood prospecting, with Red-X, chances are, if you get all the numbers from a neighborhood, you will get a higher quality of those numbers that are good numbers. And with your geo leads, I've seen the product and I've seen them do radius. I believe they're pulling polygon and different shapes and stuff, so you can call just one block, or you can block out just one block if for some reason something's going on there and you don't want to call that one block, or say there is a block that something's going on that you want to call that whole block only. So they seem to be offering a lot of different options, and they have, and they're the thing that I found most amazing is they're always open to suggestions. So maybe you have an idea you want to submit to somebody, submit it to Red-X, and it might not be something they can do immediately, but it might be something down the road. I mean, something I learned with their numbers is sometimes you might get 4 or 5 numbers for one expired listing, and let's say the listing is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Those 4 leads have 4 different area codes. So, say the person's tax map address where they actually live or the tax bill is going to in Florida. What I told them is I said, I always call the Florida number first because that's where the tax bill's going. And, they looked at me and said, that's really smart. And they talked about changing the way their data is being presented in Vortex so that Florida area code is presented first. I don't know if that makes sense, but so they are open to suggestions. I mean, they're constantly trying to make their products better. So if you're using Red-X and there's something interesting you've seen or something interesting that you think they could do to make it better, send them an email. I think these guys are very open to discussing it with you or maybe adding it to their product later on. Um, The thing that they're offering right now, if you tell them that I sent you, they'll waive the setup cost for you. You know what I would do is I would call their team and just ask them exactly what you asked me, and tell them who you're using now, and just see what they tell you. Hey, if you don't ask, you're never gonna get it anyway. So I would just go ahead and ask if I was you. I would call RedX. I'd ask them what kind of specials they have. Ask them if they have any trial periods. Ask them whatever you'd like. Tell them what you're using. Now I will tell you that a lot of these companies. One thing I have learned is a lot of companies that are selling expireds. They're just buying data, or they're basically white labeling data. So a lot of these companies have the exact same data. RedX, one thing they're doing is they're looking at these other data sources too, but then they're mining their own data sources. So a lot of the data that's coming from RedX, some of that is exclusive to RedX. So they're not reselling it to anybody else, is what I'm trying to say. So some of these expired services, they're just buying their expireds and reselling them to you. And let's see, I'm muted. Can you guys hear me now?